Hi guys, this is Algebra lesson 2-3. In this lesson called standard form, you will be able to write and graph linear equations in standard form. You will also use linear equations in standard form to interpret the x and y intercepts in the context of given data. So first you need to know, you need to remember what the x-intercept means and also the y-intercept. And the new vocabulary we're going to learn today is the standard form of a linear equation. The x-intercept, remember, is where the graph intercepts the x-axis. So that's when y is equal to 0. Y-intercept is when the graph intercepts the y-axis. And that's when x is equal to 0. Okay? So let's look at explore and reason. Jay makes a playlist of 24 songs for a party. Since he prefers country and rock music, he builds the playlist from those two types of songs. Let's determine two different combinations of country and rock songs that Jay could use for his playlist. Look at the playlist of Jay. We got country 1, 2, rock 3, 4, country 5, and blah, blah, blah. Right? What are two different combinations of country and rock? Any country and any rock. Two that Jay could use for his playlist. What do you think? Okay. How many country songs? You could have 12 country songs and 12 rock songs, or 16 country songs and 8 rock songs to get 24 total, right? He wants to make a playlist of 24 songs. So any 24 songs with a mixture of country and rock songs would be the answer. Could be the answer. 12 country and 12 rock, or 16 country and 8 rock. What are other combinations? 20 and 4, 23 and 1, right? 23 country, 1 rock music, that's fine. Anything that adds up to 24 will be the answer. Part B, plot these combinations on graph paper. Extend a line through the points. Okay, here's a graph paper with a grid line. Y-axis represents the rock songs. X-axis represents the country songs. We're going to start with 0. We can have 6 rock songs, 12 rock songs, 18, 24. So each of them would be 3, 6, 9, 12, and so on. Okay, and then we have 0, 3, 6, 12, 18, 24, and so on. Okay, so what was the problem? Part B, plot these combinations on graph paper. So let's plot 12 country and 12 rock, or 16 country and 8 rock. 12 country and 12 rock. That would be this point, 12, 12. And 16 country and 8 rock. That's 15, so 16 would be here. 16 country and 8 rock would be around here. Okay, so then you connect these two dots and draw a line. You can use any straight edge to draw a line. Okay, this has a pattern. This obviously has a pattern, and it's going to sum points at the y-axis and the x-axis. Okay, that is part B. Model with mathematics, part C. Can you use the line to find other meaningful points? Look at the line. Can you use it to find other points that could possibly be a combination? Yes. Explain why. So for example, pick a point over here. You have 18 and 6. 18 country and 6 rock songs. Would that make up 24 songs total? Yes, it's a playlist of 24 total songs. What about this point right here? Right here. Okay, 9 songs and 15 songs. Would that make 24 songs of a playlist? Yes, 9 plus 15 is 24. Okay, so all these points would make a combination of 24 songs total with a number of country songs and a number of rock songs. Let's write that down. Yes, the line will pass through other values for the number of country and rock songs that add to 24 total songs. Okay. So in this lesson, we're going to think about this question. What information does the standard form of a linear equation reveal about a line? We're going to look at a third form of a linear equation. Example 1. Let's understand the standard form of a linear equation. Part A. Hannah will spend $150 on music festival tickets. Reserved seat tickets cost $25 and general admission tickets cost $10. How can you represent the situation with a linear equation? So the variable represents different things. X will represent the cost of reserved seat tickets. And Y should represent general admission tickets. And so every cost of reserved seat ticket times 25 would be the money spent on reserved seat tickets total. And 10 times Y in the same manner will be the money spent on general admission tickets. And so the total would be 25X plus 10Y, right? And that should be 150 because Hannah will spend 150 on music festival tickets. So that's your equation. And this is in standard form. So a general form of standard form is AX plus BY equals C, where A, B, and C are integers. They're going to be numbers. You would just have X and Y. But A, B, and C are representing the numbers, okay? And A and B are not both equal to 0, okay? They're not both equal to 0, or else it's going to be 0 equals C, which doesn't make any sense, okay? So remember, integers are rational numbers with no fractional or decimal parts, right? So you're not going to write this as a fraction or decimal. You're going to write it as a whole number, which means this equation will not have rational number for A and B. That is why it's called the standard form. You want a whole number, the smallest whole number, okay? You also need to simplify the equation if they are in a decimal form or a fractional form, okay? How do we do that? We'll talk about it later. Part B, what information does the standard form give you that the slope-intercept form does not? So what's so special about the standard form? Compare the forms. We got slope-intercept form on the left, standard form on the right. Slope-intercept form has the slope and the intercept, y-intercept, right? Standard form tells you the total number that she wants to spend. So in slope-intercept form, Hannah, you can take out the information where Hannah can buy 15 general admission tickets if she buys no reserved seat tickets. That's what the y-intercept mean in this situation. If there's 0 for X, then Y is 15. That's your y-intercept. So that's an information that you can get from having slope-intercept form. Standard form, without having to solve for it, you get a total cost. So you can see that Hannah can spend $150. That's the constraint she has. So if you have a constraint or a goal where you don't want to go over and you want to make it an equation, standard form is a nice way to look at the general idea of your plan, okay? So let's try number 1. Is it easier to find the x-intercept of the graph of the equations in part B using slope-intercept or standard form? Which one is easier to find the x-intercept? The slope-intercept form or the standard form? Well, what's x-intercept? X-intercept is when the graph intercepts the x-axis. That's when your y, your height, is 0 because it has to intercept the y-axis, and all the points on y-axis has no height. It's when y is equal to 0. Okay? So, thinking about that, what do you think is easier? The slope-intercept form or the standard form? Yes, it's easier to find the x-intercept for the graph of the equations in part B by using the standard form, our lesson's protagonist, because you can substitute 0 for y and solve for x, right? That's pretty easy for a standard form, right? Just plug in 0 and solve for x. Right, 25x is equal to 150. So you divide 150 by 25 to get what x is. Otherwise, in slope-intercept form, you have to let y equal to 0, and then you have to move 15, divide by negative 2.5. So it's a little bit more steps. Okay. So let's write that down. Okay, let's look at example 2. Sketch the graph of a linear equation in standard form. What is the graph of 3x minus 2y equals 9? If we have a different form, do we still have a graph? Yes, all equations have a graph. How do we sketch the graph with a standard form? To sketch a graph of linear equation in standard form, you need to find the easiest way would be finding for the x and the y intercepts, because it's really easy to find the x and y intercepts in a standard form. So find the x and y intercepts by plugging in 0 for each one. If you plug in 0 for y, that means y is 0, so no height, which means you have an x-intercept. So if you plug in 0 for x, that means there's no left or right, no width. So that's going to be your y-intercept. So plug in zeros for x and y in different equations and figure out x and y. X is 3, y is negative 4.5. So your x-intercept is 3, y-intercept is negative 4.5, which means you have a point 3, 0, and 0, negative 4.5 in your graph. So graph that, plot the points over here, and connect the dots in a line, in a straight line. That is your graph. That wasn't too hard, was it? Let's try number 2. Sketch the graph of 4x plus 5y equals 10. So if you have an equation, 4x plus 5y equals 10, figure out your x and y intercepts. X-intercept is when y is equal to 0. So 4x plus 5 times 0 is equal to 10. Will give you the x-intercept. 4x plus 0 is equal to 10. 4x is equal to 10. So x is equal to 10 over 4, which is simplified to 5 over 2, or 2.5. Okay. Y-intercept is when x is equal to 0. Okay. X is gone, and you solve for y. Okay, so 5y is equal to 10. Y is equal to 10 over 5, which is just 2. So you have 2 points, 2.5, 0, and 0, 2, right? Because your y is 0 here for x-intercept, and your x is 0 for the y-intercept. So graph those 2 points. That's 1, 2, 3. That's 1, 2, 3. Okay, 0, 2 is over here. 2.5, 0 is over here. And you connect the points. Okay, and that's going to be your line. Or try number 2. 4x plus 5y is equal to 10. All right. Now example 3. We're going to relate standard form to horizontal and vertical lines. What does graph of ax plus by equals c look like when a is equal to 0? So let's see what happens when a is equal to 0. Then that means 0 times x is just 0. So you just have by equals c, which for an example could be 2y equals 6, right? And that's really y equals 3 if you simplify the equation. And so if your a is equal to 0, then that means you just have y in your equation. There's no x. Y has to be 3. So all the points where y is equal to 3 are these points. 0, 3. Then you have 2, 3. X could be anything. 4, 3, but y has to be 3. Does that make sense? X could be -3, but y has to be 3. So all these y values are equal to 3 on this line. So it makes a line. Okay, it's a horizontal line. Let's look at the next page. What about when the graph has b is equal to 0, right? So that's when your y is gone. So if y disappears, you just have x equals to a number. So 3x equals to -6 would be an example. That's really x equals -2 if you simplify the equation by dividing 3 on both sides. And that's really telling you all the points should have -2 for x. But y, the values of y does not matter, right? So you can have -2, 0 here, or here is when you have -2, 6. So your height of the point could change, but your x values all have to equal to -2. So when b is equal to 0, that means when you have a vertical line. Okay. Let's try number 3. Sketch the graph of each equation. Can you graph 3y equals -18 and 4x equals 12? Let's try yourself. Okay, let's look at 3a. You have 3y is equal to -18. So simplify your equation first. Divide 3 on both sides. You get -18 divided by 3, which is -6. So all your points have to be in -6 for your y, not your x, okay? So count -6. That's 1, 2, 3 on the y-axis. -1, -2, -3, 4, 5, and 6. -6 is right here. That could be a point. 0, -6, 1, -6, 3, -6, -3, -6. Does that make sense? All the points on this horizontal line should be where y is equal to -6. So this is your answer for 3a. That's your graph. What about part B? You have 4x equals 12. So simplify 4x equals 12. Divide both sides by 4, you get 3. X has to be 3. So you find 3 on the x-axis. 1, 2, 3, right there. 3, 0, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? Yeah, 3, 1, 3, 2, 3, -3, 3, -4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, and so on. If you're ever not sure, try plotting in points where your x is equal to 3, and you will get this vertical line. Okay? That's part B. Okay, let's look at example 4. Use the standard form of a linear equation. Now let's use it in real life situation. Tamira is making a trail mix. She has $40 to spend on a mixture of almonds and cashews and wants about the same amount of almonds as cashews. How can she determine how many pounds of each kind of nut to buy? Right? They want the same amount. That's when you want to use the standard form because you have a constraint of the total amount, right? So first, write and graph an equation to represent the situation. We're gonna let X represent the pounds of almonds, okay? And then we're gonna let Y represent the pounds of cashews. And we're gonna use this information, $8 per pound for almond. So 8 times how many pounds, each pound will be the total price of almonds. 10 times Y will be the total price for cashews. And the total of both of the mixture has to be 40. So then let's compute and find the X and Y intercepts by plugging in zeros, and you get 5 for X, 4 for Y. So graph the line on the graph. You have 5 on the X axis and then 4 for the Y axis. Those are your X and Y intercepts. Draw the line. And you can figure out some points. We got 2, 2.4, 2.4, 2. So these are some possible points, right? And you want to determine how many pounds of each kind of nut to buy when she wants about the same amount of almonds and cashews, right? So 2 and 2.4, 2.5 and 2, they're about the same, right? So you can say, well, there's really not a whole number that makes it the same, but she can buy 2 pounds of almonds and 2.4 pounds of cashews, or 2.5 pounds of almonds and 2 pounds of cashews for $40. Okay, obviously, if you want to go further than that, like 2.55, 2.57, whatever, you could, but so in this problem, we're going to stop here where at 10. Okay, that's enough for us. Let's try number 4. How does the equation change if Tamira has $60 to spend on a mixture of almonds and cashews instead of 40 total? That's your first question. How many pounds of nuts can she buy if she buys only cashews or only almonds? That's your second question. A mixture of both? Okay. Think about it, work on it, and come back when you're ready. Okay, first of all, you need to set up an equation. Okay, so you have the same cost. So it's going to be 8x plus 10y. That part is the same, but it's going to equal to a different amount now. You have $60 of constraint instead of $40, right? And how many pounds of nuts can she buy if she buys only cashews? That means you don't have almonds. Almonds is equal to 0. When x is equal to 0, what's your y-intercept? That is your number of cashews that you can buy. So let's graph our new equation. 8x plus 10y is equal to 60. So first, figure out the x-intercept. Is when y is equal to 0. So 8x is equal to 60. X is 60 divided by 8. And that's going to be divide both by 4. And you get 15 over 2. Okay? So x-intercept is 15 over 2, which is about 7.5. Y-intercept is when x is equal to 0. So 10y is equal to 60. Y is equal to 60 over 10. That is just 6. Okay, so your y-intercept, 3, 4, 5, 6 starts here. Your x-intercept is 4, 5, 7, 8. So 7.5 over here. And draw the line between those 2 points. Whoops. Okay, there we go. And so what are some points where you can buy no cashews? Remember which represented which? Y values represent the cashews. This is the cashews. And the X values represent the almonds in pounds. So if you have no almonds, then you can buy how many cashews? 6 cashews total, right? 6 pounds of cashews. They're all in pounds. Okay, if you buy no cashews at all, if cashews are 0, then how many pounds of almonds do you buy? 7.5 right here, right? So those are your answers. What about a mixture of both? You can find any combination that, that satisfies this equation of the line. Any point on this line could be a mixture of both, right? 3 pounds of almonds and maybe 3.2 or 3 pounds of cashews. That could be one example, but there are many, many correct answers for this last question. So let's write that down. This is your first answer. Second, you can buy 6 pounds of nuts. And third, you can buy 7.5 pounds of almonds, right? Mixture of both, you can write your own answer. All right, let's summarize our lesson. In this lesson, we learned the standard form of a linear equation. Okay. So the standard form of a linear equation is useful to find the x and y intercepts of the line very easily. And you can use it to write the equation of a vertical or a horizontal line faster. And the x-intercept is the value of x when y is equal to 0. Remember that. And the y-intercept is the value of y when x is equal to 0. All right. So these are some examples. We learned about the standard form. That is our third form. And that was lesson 2-3. Thank you. Bye.